Aw, look at you. You're so cutie, aren't you? You. Yes, you are. You are adorable. Oh, hang on, I gotta put you down. We're doing a video. Hey everyone, I'm Egoqueenalexis. Love me, and I do. Anyway, today, we are taking a look at Genestealer Cult. We're going to be taking a look at the Stratagems and Relics. Now, in future videos, I am going to be referring to this video, so make sure you watch it. Anyway. Stratagems make up the essential part of your codex. They are the things that give you the just slight advantage that really help out in the midst of the game. Usually you'll only be using your stratagems the first 3 turns of the game, as you should be running out of command points by turn 4. And if you still have command points past turn 5, you're playing guard. Just saying. Anyway, the Genestealer Cult has an enormous selection. Actually, it has the exact same number as most other armies in Warhammer 40k, current edition. But unlike some, a lot of theirs are actually useful. So unlike the useless ones that are in the sister book, some of these are actually very, very, very cool and very strategic. And if implemented just right, can actually be really, really efficient against your opponent. So, with that said, we're going to dive right into the stratagems. I'm going to sit here. I'm standing. I'm going to stand here, start reading some of them off, and telling you how I would implement them. The first one allows you to conceal your objectives if you're playing tactical objectives. So if you're playing escalation or any of the other, I think 12 at this point, that use the tactical objective deck, this one allows you to conceal them, which can be enormously beneficial against your opponent. Your opponent not knowing where you're actually going to go, though this one is a little bit silly, it can be really, really, really good in certain games. You won't see this one pop up in tournaments, as tournaments usually don't use tactical objective cards. Talking about ITC and ETC, I think? I'm not sure about them, but tactical objectives aren't really used in the ITC tournaments, so this one won't have much use in tournament games that I go to. Maybe the ones you go to, this one will be extremely useful, but for right now, I see it as kind of a meh ability, because once you start moving your guys towards a certain objective, it becomes really obvious to your opponent. So, 1 CP could be useful, but I'd rather save that for a reroll. Lurking in the shadows, 2 command points. Use the stratagem at the start of your opponent's shooting phase. Select the Genestealer Cult infantry unit from your army that is entirely on or within a terrain feature. Until the end of the phase, enemy models can only shoot if a unit is the closest visible. Okay, so they can only shoot it if it essentially gains the character keyword. They can only shoot it if they are the closest. So that can be really, really, really useful for Genestealers that are running up the board that may have not actually started in reserve, or I'm going to refer to it as Deep Strike and Blips. Blips means they're on the table, Deep Strike means they're in reserve. So if they are in blip mode and have to move up the table, this can be extremely useful, as you can run all the way up the terrain and hide there momentarily while a jackal squad gets up and in your opponent's face and distracts them for a little bit, allowing the Genestealers to actually get closer. In fact, using this along with the jackals is extremely good because the jackals have a -1 to hit, meaning that they are harder for your opponent to kill anyway. So 2 CP, really, really, really useful for the first couple of turns, but after the first 1 or 2 turns, it's kind of mediocre. So the next stratagem is called They Came From Below. So this stratagem works like this. Use a stratagem before you reveal an ambush marker, a blip. Select up to 3 units, excluding vehicles, from your army that are set up in ambush, blip mode. For each of these units that you select, remove 1 blip marker from the battlefield and then set it up in Deep Strike. So it could be a good way of really psyching out your opponent, but overall it's one of those things that's like, I just deployed my entire army, saw where my opponent is going to place their stuff, because you do one blip at a time. You see their entire army, and you just go like this. I think I'll save the CP and just go deep strike, deep strike, deep strike, reserve. Or deep strike blip mode. There we go. I don't really see this one as useful, but some people may see it a little bit differently. I hope that people see strategies that I don't, and if you do, comment in the comment section down below, because I love learning. It gives me great knowledge on how you Imperials think. This way I can give that knowledge to my gods. That way they can feast better. And that's what it's really all about. Anyway, next one is called Brood Coven. Use this stratagem before the battle and your warlord is a... Okay, this is a lot. Hang on. Use this stratagem before the battle if your warlord is a patriarch. Select up to 1 Magos and up to 1 Primus in your army. Generate a warlord trait for each of the selected models. Note that these models are only regarded as your warlord for the purposes of these warlord traits. All 3 models must have different warlord traits. This stratagem can only be used once per battle. The only reason to take a Primus is because of this. That's really it. I would definitely recommend this. If you are including a Magos, which every army is going to include about 2 Magoses, especially with the new chick, she looks awesome, and Sassy Grandpa, you're definitely going to be including at least 2 Magoses, maybe 1 Primus, and if you're including any Genestealers, you're going to be including a Patriarch, because why not? This allows the army to actually generate more warlord traits and be super effective. Now keep in mind, this doesn't say in the detachment. So you could have a Patriarch of one cult and then the Magos and Primus of another cult. So you can get different warlord traits for different brood covens, or whatever they're called. Different cults. I just want to double check this. Yep, the only limit is that they have to be... Yeah, there is no limit. Just, you can only use this thing once per battle. So 1 CP generating 3 warlord traits is absolutely amazing. Just keeping in mind of all of the different warlord traits as you advance and as you move into your games. Index cards really do help. Writing all this stuff down on a sticky note really helps. Keep it by your character so you know everything that it is doing. Usually I keep sticky notes in my book. Next one we have is Devoted Crew. Use this stratagem at the start of your turn. Select a Genestealer cult vehicle model from your army. Until the end of the turn, use the top row of the model's damage table, regardless of how many wounds it has left. This ends immediately if the model is reduced to 0 wounds. So this would be really, really good for using like demolition charges late in game, because it's 1 CP, so if you're going to use a cache of demolition charges from a vehicle that's very wounded or just retreated, well, not if it retreated from combat, but is in the back row just trying to survive and is taking a lot of damage, it can be useful, but overall it is a forgettable stratagem. The vehicles in the Genestealer cult really only have one purpose, transporting, and that's it. Just get them across the battlefield as quickly and as safe as possible. 2 command points, Monstrous Vigor. Use this stratagem at the start of your turn. Select an aberrant unit from your army until the start of your next turn. Add 1 to the bestial vigor roll made for that unit. Add 1 to their Feel No Pain. So they can go from a 5-up to a 4-up. I think it's a 5-up. Let me just double check with them. Believe they are elites. Boo. You know, I just saw them and I turned away from them. Aberrants, Bestial Vigor. When inflicting damage on a model, this reduce the damage characteristic of the attack by 1 to a minimum of 1. In addition, roll a d6 each time this model loses a wound on a 5+. That is not lost, so it turns it from a 5+ to a 4+. Also, does it affect the... Add 1 to the Bestial Vigor roll made. Okay, so it only affects the roll and not the attacks coming in. So they do specify that. Miraculous Uprising, 1 command point. Use the stratagem before you reveal an ambush marker. Move up to 3 ambush markers up to 12 inches. Each of these markers cannot be moved within 9 inches of an enemy model or outside your deployment zone. This one is completely useless. Sorry. Most Genestealer cult armies are going to have enough blip markers on their field to deploy everywhere where they want anyway. The average army is dropping about 9 to 15 blips. So keep that in mind. You don't need this. Save your points. Hypermetabolism. Use this stratagem at the start of your movement phase. Select a Genestealer cult character from your army. It immediately regains D3 lost wounds. Really decent. Just solid. Especially on like a big boss character like the Abominant or even the Patriarch. Also really decent for bringing back a Psyker up to full, but really you don't really need that too much. You're going to need this on mostly the Acolyte Icon Ward, the Abominant, and the Patriarch. None of the others really benefit too much from this. Jackal maybe, but not really. Rig to blow. Use the stratagem when a Genestealer cult vehicle model from your army that is equipped with a cache of demolition charges is destroyed. Do not roll a d6. This model is automatically explodes. 1 command point. Really, really useful because your trucks are going to die. Just take a 5-point upgrade, I think the cache of demolition charges is. Let's just double check that really quickly. Boop-a-boop-a-boo. Other war gear should be right in here. It is not in there. Is there a vehicle? Wow, where the heck is the cache of demolition charges? Fast attack, other war gear. I guess it would be in ranged war gear. Cache of demo charges, 10 points to blow up your vehicle. I think that's worth it. Just D6 mortal wounds all around. Yes, please. Especially on a truck. Especially when you run it into your opponent. Especially when you get stuck in close combat by multiple units that have to destroy it. It's really decent. The first curse. Use the stratagem before the battle. Select a pure strain Genestealer unit from your army. Roll a d6 to see what effects apply to the unit during the battle. On a 1 and 2, each wound roll of a 6+ for an attack made in fighting by models with this in this unit inflict 1 additional damage. So their base damage goes to 2 instead of 1, and they can deal 2 wounds and 1 mortal wound if they roll a 6, which is really, really good. Actually, it is just on 6, so my apologies. On a 3 or 4, add 1 to the advance roll made for this unit. Decent, gets them nice and close, especially combined with the other cult creeds, which can add 2 or add 1 to the advance rolls, so they're now moving an average of 2 to 3 additional, which is always good. 5 and 6, the unit loses swift and deadly. Oh, that's terrible. But the saving characteristic of the model of the unit is changed to 4+. You can only use the stratagem once per battle. Oh, 5 and 6 kind of make it not worth it. Oh, that just went from being really, really, really good to garbage really quickly. So on a 5 and 6, you lose the best ability that they have. But on a 1 through 4, they're pretty decent. Use that one at your own risk. I actually don't suggest it. Your stratagems can be better spent elsewhere. Cult reinforcements. Use this stratagem at the end of your movement phase. Select a Genestealer cult unit from your army that has the troop battlefield roll. You can return up to D6 slain models to that unit. With each of these set up unit coherency more than 1 inch away from an enemy. This one I don't believe you have to pay the reinforcement points for, but the other one you do. But I could be wrong on that, and if I am wrong on that, please tell me in the comment section down below. Now, let's move on. That is 1 command point. It's kind of worth it. Kind of, sort of. D6. It can be good. It'd be really, really, really good on... It's actually not... Like, I'm thinking it over. It's really cool for big, giant blob units. So, maybe? Okay. Where am I? Detonate concealed explosives. Use this stratagem at the start of your shooting phase. If a Genestealer cult model from your army are on the battlefield, select an enemy unit on the battlefield and roll a d6. Subtract 1 if the result of the unit is a character. Select 1 from the result if the unit is a character, and add 1 to the unit if it contains more than 10 models. On a 4+, the unit suffers d3 mortal wounds. On a 7+, the unit suffers d6 mortal wounds. This again is one of those abilities that can be good, and for two command points, it's kind of decent, but you are going to be spending 1 to re-roll it because it is a 4+, turning to a 5+ if you want to hit a character, turning into, it's mediocre, but in certain situations it can be very, very, very useful, especially with like a Jackal squad that can be nice and close and wherever they need to be on the battlefield. So cast your demo charges and then throw the demo charges again can actually be really devastating to a unit. Scanning decoys. Use this stratagem when you set up a unit from your army that has the cult ambush ability in ambush. So when you deep strike a unit. Place 4 ambush markers for that unit instead of 1. If you have used this stratagem, then... Oh, okay, sorry, I misread this. Okay, so what this does is instead of dropping 1 blip token, you actually set up like 3 for that 1 unit, which is really useful. Let me just double check and double read this. No units from the army remain. The ambush remove all remaining ambush markers. Yeah, this one just adds the 3 additional blip markers. There we go. I got it on the 3rd try. Get it? 1, 2, 3. No? Oh, okay. I'll go now. Anyway, can be really useful, but for the most part, you're not really going to need this if you're playing about a 2,000 point game. But lower point games, this can actually be very, very, very useful. Higher point games, not really. A perfect ambush, 3 command points. So you know this one's going to be probably mediocre. Use this stratagem in the movement phase immediately after you set up an infantry or biker unit from your army that has cult ambush ability on the battlefield when you deep strike. That unit can either move d6, even if it has arrived from reinforcements, or it can shoot with its ranged weapons as though it were your shooting phase. Using this stratagem in your own turn does not prevent the unit from shooting in the shooting phase or charging in the charge phase. So what this really does is you can either reveal a cult unit in your deployment zone and have it shoot or move a bit further than its deployment, which can be really useful for a Jackal squad. So, you know, Jackal's moving 14 inches. You can then move them 28 inches, which, if you guys know, you take line. That is 40 inches in 1 turn. Or if you arrive from deep strike, which you're 9 inches away from an opponent, you can roll d6. Oh, sorry. Re-rad all of that about the Jackals. They can just move d6. So average 3 plus 14 is 15, 17, plus 12 inch for taking line is pretty far still. But this really shines with revealing things that have deep striked. So that giant unit of Acolyte Hybrids or that unit of Genestealers that just appeared, those are going to be the ones that you want to use this on. Telepathic summoning. I get it. You guys think that I used this sort of wrong in my last game. I didn't really, because that was an open play game and reinforcements are free in those games. But in the future, I will be doing this correctly. And I'm saying that because you do have to pay reinforcement points for this. With this ability, a Magos gets to do nothing and then summon in a unit. You're rolling 3d6 and you add that all together and you look for a unit in your book and summon in a unit. This is actually surprisingly decent even without paying the reinforcement points. Well, even with taking some points away and using them for reinforcement points. Like you take 200 points away from your army, it's still 1,800 points, still really efficient, still allows you to summon in HQs, including more patriarchs. So you can summon the full patriarchy, summon in like 10 of them. And by that I mean summon in 1 a turn. This is really good for a Magos that's sitting, chilling way in the back, and you just pay the reinforcement points that you've already put aside in your army. So if you have 1,800, or if you have 2,000, you go to 1,800, you have 200, meaning you can summon in a unit for 200 points. This could actually be an HQ choice, a troop choice. All of their war gear you still have to pay for, but still, it is very, very good for bringing in units, similar to how demons summon. So if you need a big, heavy hitting close combat unit, you can actually summon in the Aberrant, or you can summon in some, Aberrants, or the Abominant, and really hit home with that. So keep that in mind when thinking about this ability. This is one you're going to have to think about prior to building your list. You're going to be like, do I want to summon things in? I'm actually thinking yes, because I like the idea of bringing in a new unit to surprise my opponent with. Return to the shadows. Use the stratagem at the end of your movement phase. Select one infantry or biker unit from your army that has the Cult Ambush ability and is more than 3 inches away from an enemy model. You cannot select the unit that has arrived from reinforcements. Remove the unit from the battlefield at the end of your next movement phase. That unit is set up in the battlefield again anywhere it deep strikes. You return to the shadows, you take a unit that is 3 inches away from your opponent, put them back into reserve, and then go, they're going to come in tomorrow. Or they're going to come in later. Or, they're coming in right now. Except they can't come in right now. But you get what I mean. They come in the next turn. And they come in by Cult Ambush, so 9 inches away, they deep strike, and it allows them to use some of the stratagems, like a perfect ambush, especially on a Genestealer cult unit that's all the way back in the back. Or a unit that had to get away from something, or is damaged, or an HQ that you want to put somewhere else. Keep that in mind. Lying in wait. Use the stratagem when you set up a unit from your army that has the Cult Ambush ability as Deep Strike. When setting up that unit, it can be set up anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 3 inches away. So 3 inches. This is where your big, giant blobs of Genestealers are going to come in. They are going to come in 3 inches away from multiple targets and hit all of them simultaneously. This is an effective way to use this. This is probably my favorite stratagem in this entire book. It is ungodly powerful. With only needing a 3-inch to your charge, especially with Genestealers, it's incredible. Especially when you combine it with a certain cult that makes it so that your charges always add +1. So, 2-inch charge is an automatic success. Keep that in mind. Also works on a giant unit of Aberrants as well as any other infantry in the game. Extra explosives. Use a stratagem before a Genestealer cult unit from your army is selected to shoot or fire Overwatch. Up to 10 models from the unit that are armed with grenades can throw a grenade in this phase instead of only one per model being able to do so. So, oh my god, you can actually do an entire drive-by with the Jackal squad and their improvised explosives. So you have a huge squad of Jackals, I think it's 10, with 2 Wolf quads included. You throw 10 demolition charges at a target and just blow them up, and then use the concealed explosives before that so that you deal even more damage to that unit. This could be a really effective way of character sniping as well, because 10 D3 shots at a character is more than likely going to kill it. So I really like that. Grandsire's Gift, it's the relic one that allows you to... I wish the neighbor's dog would be quiet. I apologize about that. But it's the relic one that you can pay 1 or 3 to get 2 additional relics to your arsenal, which is really good if you are doing the other stratagem that's making them multiple warlords. So you can take one on a Primus, take one on a Magos, and take one on a Patriarch, and have 3 additional warlords as well that are souped up. Or you can just go, the Magos is just going to chill in the back, so I don't really care about him, and put it on somebody else, like a Jackal. A plan generations in the making. Use the stratagem just after your opponent has spent CP to use a stratagem, but before the effect of the stratagems are resolved. Roll a d6. On a 1, the opponent's stratagem is resolved as normal. On a 2 through 5, the opponent's stratagem is refunded, but the stratagem they were using is not resolved and cannot be attempted again in that phase. On a 6, the stratagem they were attempted to use does not resolve and cannot be attempted for the rest of the phase, and the CP spent are lost. This stratagem cannot be used if there are no Cult of the Four-Armed Emperor units on the battlefield and cannot be used to affect stratagems that are before the battle or during deployment. 3 command points. This is an extremely, extremely good stratagem. Just 3 to say no to your opponent can be insanely powerful late game, early game, or pretty much any turn of the game. Your opponent just set up their unit to do their grand strategy, to actually mess with you, to use everything that they've got to destroy a unit, and you're just like, no. No. Nah, I don't play like that. Just pay your 3 command points and just go, nah, get that out of here. It's such a good thing, but it makes it so that you have to take the Cult of the Four-Armed Emperor, which I might, just because I like saying want to be in the forearms of the Emperor, you know, hug. Anyway, moving on. Next one is Chilling Efficiency. Use this stratagem after a Hive Cult unit from your army has attacked an enemy unit in the shooting phase, and the attacks resulted in the enemy unit losing 1 or more wounds. Add 1 to the hit rolls for attacks made by your arm. Add 1 to the hit rolls for attacks made by other friendly Hive Cult units that target the same enemy unit that phase. So this is really, really good for targeting characters that are really powerful, like Smash Captain or any Custodian unit, really hitting them and destroying them and making sure that they die. This is extremely useful for taking down problematic targets. I'm saying that because I said patriarchy, and I feel all, yee. I don't. I'm just kidding, obviously. This is also really good for aberrant units after the Abominant has swung at them to make sure that they kill them, or for hitting a tank or something that is hard for the army to kill, like Imperial Knight. Moving on, we have Overthrow the Oppressor. I'm sorry, I swear I'm not doing the SJW crap. I don't swing that way, that is not me. Use the stratagem before a bladed cog, oh god, it's the cog pieces again. Excluding Genestealer unit from your army is selected to fight in the fight phase. Use it until the end phase. Each time you roll an unmodified roll of a 6 for an attack made by a model in that unit, the model can immediately make an additional hit roll against the same target unit using the same weapon. These bonus attacks cannot themselves generate any further attacks. These extra attacks are instead generated on unmodified hit rolls of 5 and 6 when targeting Imperium units, or an unmodified roll of a 4, 5, or 6 when targeting Adeptus Mechanicus units. Kind of cool that they fight Adeptus Mechanicus units, but it's really good for aberrants, really good for giant blob units, but I kind of stick to small units. I'll stick to one big unit as my death squad, and that'll be what I use to destroy most big units. But overall, I don't really see it as too effective because it doesn't work on Genestealers, but it does work on aberrants, and that can be really, really useful, especially if you're using your aberrants to hit a tank or something hard for them to destroy. Generating additional hits, especially with power sledgehammers, is extremely useful. Drive-by demolitions. Oh my god. Okay, this one is funny because you can combine it with the other 2 bomb abilities and really create... Not going to go there with that joke. Use this stratagem before a Rusted Claw biker unit in your army, from your army, shoots in the shooting phase. Until the end of the phase, add 1 to the hit and wound rolls made for attacks with this unit's grenade weapons. After this unit has resolved all of its shooting attacks in this phase, it can immediately make a move as though it were the movement phase, but cannot charge during this turn. Okay, so hear me out on this. You do this one, the drive-by demolitions. Okay, really, really, really good. You do it with the one ability, which is called the... Where are you? Oh my god, where are you? Wow, am I really missing this? I am missing this. But anyway, you do it with the other grenade ability that allows 10 people in the unit to throw a grenade. So you have 10 grenades actually being thrown at your opponent that are now re-rolling to hit. It's a lot of stratagems immediately, but it is so much fun because it does work on the grenade launchers as well. So keep that in mind. So if you are going to include Jackals and Jackal Alphases into your army, Rusted Claw seems to be the way to go because you get to do all of those dirty little things. I got a hair on me. Okay. Vengeance for the Martyred. When did the sisters get here? Anyway, use this stratagem when an enemy unit destroys a Papa Prince character model from your army. For the remainder of the battle, add 1 to the hit rolls for attacks made by friendly Papa Prince models when they target the unit that destroyed that character. So, kind of good if you are, well, if your character gets on one-on-one combat, it's kind of good. If your character gets hit by a Death Star, it's pretty good. If your character gets hit by an Imperial Knight, it's pretty good. If your character gets hit by something and, well, the thing survives, it's pretty good. Can't really say it's great, it's just kind of meh, in my opinion. It's good, because it is hit rolls. Yeah, it's hit rolls for attack, so that works on shooting and close combat, so that can actually be really useful. Especially if a vehicle or a flyer actually hit your opponent, or an Eldar hit your opponent, because then it might negate some of their inherent defenses. Monstrous Biohorror. Use this stratagem at the end of a fight phase. Select a Twisted Helix Aberrant unit from your army that unit can immediately fight again. In addition, until the end of the turn, subtract 1 from the leadership characteristics of a unit while stay within 6 inches of that unit. So really, really, really decent. Not great, but decent. Again, a lot of these stratagems are very, very situational and dependent on army builds. But once you find your right combination of characters and stratagems and army build, this codex can actually be pretty insane. But it is a glass hammer. Keep that in mind. Now, I believe we went over the warlord traits in the last video, but I could be wrong, in which case I will have to review them. But we are going to go into the relics now. So let me check what time it is. It has been 30 minutes, but that is fine. We'll just dive right into this. The icon of the cult ascended, acolyte icon ward only. Add 1 to the strength characteristics of friendly infantry and biker units while stay within 6 inches of the bearer. Extremely useful, extremely good, especially if you are taking multiple stratagems to allow multiple different relics included in the army. So if you are taking the 3 stratagems, the 3 characters, to make all 3 of them warlords, and you don't want to use your Magos to actually benefit from anything, you can give the Acolyte Icon Ward this sacred flaggy thingy that he waves around and goes, wow, look at this, I carried this through the sewer, isn't that impressive? And everybody's like, oh, I feel so much stronger now, and then they can punch harder. Because, you know, that makes sense. Anyway, Sword of the Void's Eye. Model with a bone sword only. The Sword of the Void's Eye replaces the bone sword of the following. So you can use this on your Primus, or you can use this on pretty much any character in your army that includes a bone sword. So pretty much the Primus, because you're not going to take bone swords really anywhere, because a bone sword or another acolyte kind of seems pretty obvious to me. Melee type, no range, just melee. Strength +2, AP -3, D3 damage. You can reroll hit and wound rolls with this weapon. Really decent, especially if you need a free relic for your Primus, or you know, you actually want to make the Primus semi-useful. You throw this on him. Amulet of the Void Worm. Add 1 to the saving throw made against the bearer's ranged. Add 1 to the saving throws made for the bearer against ranged weapons. In addition, enemy units cannot fire Overwatch on the bearer. Extremely good on a Patriarch. Just saying. Really good on him. Scourge of the Distant Stars. Add 1 to the hit rolls for attacks made with the bearer's melee weapons. In addition, each time an enemy model targets the bearer with a melee weapon, you can and your opponent rolls an unmodified hit roll of a 1. The attacking unit suffers 1 mortal wound after all of the attacks have been resolved. Add 1 to the hit characteristic of your Patriarch. Really, really good. Really solid. Use it on an Aberrant. Really good. A lot of these are going to be very, very situational, but very, very devastating once they get into combat, especially if you start combining them. You're going to be wanting to duplicate your relics, but you can't. Keep that in mind. But what you can do is have 3 in your army. So picking out your 3 characters, plus their warlord traits, plus their abilities on top of that. There's going to be a lot to remember, but you're going to make devastating close combat units. Oppressor's Bane. God, can they really stop with this? Anyway, models with auto pistols or Liberator auto stubs only. Oppressor's Bane replaces the bearer's auto pistol with this. 12-inch, pistol 3, strength 4, AP -2, 2 damage. It can target characters. I'm whatever about these. I find them as mediocre when you can take the close combat ones that are going to be better anyway. But there is one ranged weapon that I really do like in the relics. And you'll see it in just a minute. Dagger of Swift Sacrifice. Edgy McEdgelord weapon. Models with the Colt Knife or the Sanctus Bio Dagger only. The Dagger of Swift Sacrifice replaces it. Melee weapon, strength user, AP -2, 2 damage. It has an ability, it's kind of garbage. Each time the bearer fights, it can make 1 additional attack with this weapon. This weapon can always wounds on a 2+ unless the target is a vehicle or a character. Models lose any wound as a result of the... Oh, it suffers D3 mortal wounds if they actually take a wound, which is pretty decent but not terrific. But it can be really, really useful on bigger characters. Again, I'm looking at the Patriarch. Actually, it can't be used on a Patriarch. What the hell is this used on? What character has a dagger? Oh my god, I have no idea what character has a dagger. I mean, the Jackal has a dagger. Wow, I can't even think of daggers. So I don't really see the use of this. Comment down below if you know things with the dagger that this could be useful on. It is called the Dagger of Swift Sacrifice. Tell me how you would use it. Okay, I read this as the couching, so that's what I'm going to call it now. The couching. My couch is right here. Anyway, the couching. Patriarch Omegas with a familiar only. The Crouchling replaces one of the familiars. Yada yada yada. You can add 1 to any psychic test it takes while attempting to manifest the psychic power from the Broodmind discipline. In other words, it's useless. Sorry, it's kind of useless. A gift from the beyond. It is a gift that is from beyond. Where is it from? Well, it's from the beyond. Where's the beyond? It's over there. Beyond that thing. It's Bed Bath and Beyond. Anyway, I'm done. Okay. My hair immediately fell right back where I didn't want it. Gift from the Beyond. Models with the Jackal Sniper Rifle or Silencer or Silence Rifle only. Add 2 to the wound roll for attacks made with this weapon. Unless it's targeting a vehicle or Titanic. I love this. I actually do love this because your wound with a sniper rifle on a 6+ causes a mortal wound. So I really, really, really dig this weapon. I want to use it on my Jackal Alphuses. I really like it. It's really silly and really fun. So I like this weapon. This is a personal weapon choice of my own. Sword of the Four-Armed Emperor. Four-Armed Emperor model with a bone sword or locust blade only. Oh yeah, the Locusts, they have those ceremonial dagger thingies. Huh. That can actually be useful on them. The Sword of the Formed Emperor replaces one of the model's bone swords or his blade. Range melee, type melee, strength user, AP -3, 1 damage. Each time the bear fights, it can make 4 additional attacks with this weapon. Holy cow. That is a lot of attacks. Man, that is a lot of attacks. Strength what? I think strength 4 for him. Let's see. I want to say strength 4. Might be strength 3. Let's see if I include him. No, he's strength 3. I mean, I think the Primus is strength 4. Let's see. It's a lot of strength characteristics in this book that you're going to have to keep track of. Yeah, the Primus is strength 4, so that could be really useful on him. I wouldn't put it on the Sanctus. I don't really like that. Locust, maybe. I don't know how I feel about that. It's really, really, really cool because you can use his claw for 1 attack and then... No, you can use his claw for 2 attacks and then 4 additional attacks. So 5 attacks with the sword itself. So it's really, really, really... It's going to hit like a truck. So if you target normal infantry or guardsmen or big blobs, he can kill quite a bit of them because that's 4, 5, 6, 7 attacks from just him. So that's really, really solid. But you also need the Cult of the Formed Emperor to do so. I'm going to read this as Victor's Talisman, just because it's Victor's Talisman. Hive Cult models only. You can reroll hit rolls for attacks made by the bear's melee weapons when targeting enemy characters. In addition, each time you roll a wound roll of a 6+ for the attack with this... God, I have a wicked glare, by the way. Just letting you know, there's a huge glare on this binder, on this book, Codex. There we go. In addition, each time you roll a 6+ for the attacks with one of the bearer's melee weapons, that attack inflicts 1 mortal wound on the target unless it's a vehicle or Titanic. It's kind of decent, not really great, but kind of decent. Bladed Cog is actually just called the Bladed Cog, model only. Mark of the Clawed Omnissiah. I like that. Bladed Cog model only. The bearer has a 4+ invulnerable save. Amazing. Kind of amazing. Let's just go with that. It's good. In addition, each time the model finishes a charge move, select 1 enemy unit within 1 inch of the target. Roll a d6. On a 2+, it suffers a mortal wound. Holy crap, that's just amazing. That's solid, really good. Use that. It's amazing. So that's really good. And now we only have a few left. Metaphologic Staff. Rusted Claw Magos only. Replaces his staff. It's a strength +2, AP -5, D3 damage staff. The problem is you're going to keep this guy in the back. He's not really going to do too much up front. So him getting into melee is basically him dead. He's going to die on when he is charged. And to be honest, I wouldn't use this relic on him. I would use it elsewhere. But let's see its abilities. Each time you roll a wound roll of a 4+ with attacks made from this weapon that targets a vehicle. Wow. That targets a vehicle. That target suffers 1 mortal wound in addition to any normal damage. If you roll a wound roll of 6+, that's really decent, but again, if you're going that deep into your opponent's deployment with a Magos, it's not really that useful, although he can smite. Then he can pop one of his familiars and do the Overwatch one so that you can't Overwatch him. Then he can do this. It's decent, not great, but it's still really cool. I wouldn't use it personally because I like using my Magoses as support, coming in the back and then just smiting things as they get close. Mostly just using them for summoning. Reliquary of Saint I have no idea how to pronounce this. Tendrick? Papa Prince only. You know what? I'm just going to say that that's Reliquary of Saint Prince, because these are the purple princes. Anyway, model only. Friendly purple prince model units automatically pass morale tests while they are within 6 inches of the bearer. In addition, roll a d6 each time a friendly Papa Prince infantry or biker model is destroyed whilst it is within 6 inches of the bearer. Before removing that model on a 4+, that model can either shoot or... Oh wow, it's the adorable one. The chapter relic that the Space Marines have, where they wave their flag around and people just go, I am inspired, as they're being blown apart and still fire their weapon. Though the only difference is that they have better weapons than we do. The cult really doesn't have too many good shooting weapons on their base infantry and bikers. They have a lot of weapons. That's what makes it good. But overall, yeah, kind of yeah. I'm not going to use it. And the final one, Elixir of the Prime Specimen. Twisted Helix models only increase the attack, toughness, and wound characteristic of the bearer by 1. My god, I would put that on an Abominant. That would be insane. His strength would be like... let's see. His strength is 5, 6, and then you can go up to 7, so 14? Yeah, he can be really nasty. If combined with the right abilities, of course. So with that, I wanted to go over just the relics and the stratagems going into this codex. I am going to be referring to this video quite a few times, or I will be just going over the stratagems that come in handy as we learn more about the Genestealer cult. Now, as we dive into it, I want your input on everything that you've just heard. What stratagems do you think are the ones that stand out while the others are mediocre? Do you agree or disagree with some of the stuff that I said? Please comment and be very specific in your comments below about what you disagree and what you agree with me on. What stratagems do you think are worthless? What relics do you think are worthless? Which ones do you think are going to be the standout ones that you are going to automatically take? For me, it's the Jackal Sniper Rifle because I love that thing. But that is a personal preference. The better ones really do stand out in my opinion. So please comment down below what you think are the good and bad things of the stratagems and relics in this book. While you're down there, please check out the description and the link and all the links in the description down below. There you can follow me on social media like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and even on Patreon. Patreon goes a long way to helping me out with this channel. It goes to rebuilding armies, building new armies for the studio so that I can bring you as much cool stuff as possible. Also, if you are a Patreon member, you gain exclusive access to certain videos, although I do have to release a new one very soon. Usually they're more comedy-based and just kind of lighthearted, or vlogs that I can't really put on my YouTube channel, which do include my modeling photo shoot. You can see that all at Patreon. Yeah, I am really happy. Anyway, guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. Please be sure to like, comment, and ring that bell thingy that's right over here. And it alerts you of all of my new videos. And YouTube, for some reason, cares about that. I'm not sure why. But anyway, guys, I'm Alexis the Norn Queen. I love you guys. Bye.